A struggling family is visited by a mysterious man who offers them $1 million for pressing a red button. But at the same time, someone somewhere else will die, and from that moment on, nothing will ever be the same. That's why today the box. Remember that if you like the videos, you can support the channel by liking, subscribing, and turning on notifications. It's free and helps me keep growing. Now let's get started. The story begins in the city of Virginia in the year 1976, when a married couple is sleeping like any other night. At 5:45 ante-meridiem, their doorbell rings. This is how we meet Norma and Arthur as they get up to see who is visiting them at this hour. As Norma peeks through the door, a mysterious black car drives off after leaving a package at the entrance. They begin pondering the oddity of the situation. When their son Walter also wakes up asking about what's happening that morning, they prepare breakfast and decide to open the box, which contains a device with a large red button covered by a glass sphere that needs a key to be opened. And in addition, they find a note saying that Mr. Stuart will come to meet them at 5 in the afternoon. But they don't give it much importance and continue their daily activities for the rest of the day. Walter takes the school bus, and Norma, who is the teacher at the same school where her son studies, goes to teach her class, as always. Something unusual occurs when a student inquires about her foot. He insisted, causing her to limp, and pressured her to remove her shoe in front of others to show it. That's how we learn she only has 4 toes, but she won't say what happened. Then we find out that Arthur works at National Aeronautics and Space Administration and is part of a project that built a camera to explore Mars. Soon after, Norma learns that the school is facing financial issues, meaning they can't afford to pay her salary next semester. That moment, her boss's nose starts bleeding. Her doorbell rings at 5 post-meridiem sharp that afternoon. Norma opens the door and finds Stuart, a man with a disfigured face. He sent the box this morning and comes with a great financial offer for her. The man gives her an envelope with a key that opens a button. If she presses it, she will receive $1 million in cash. But by doing so, a stranger somewhere in the world will die. Stuart gives her $100 for letting him into her house. The money is hers to keep no matter what her answer is. Norma asks him who he works for, but the man says there are 3 basic rules that must be followed. The first is that he cannot reveal who his boss is. The second is that she cannot say anything about this. The third condition is that she must decide within 24 hours or the offer will be given to someone else after the button is reprogrammed. Meanwhile, Arthur tries to make a new prosthesis for his wife, hoping that she can run again. He informs his friends that she lost her foot because of radiation from an X-ray machine. However, he then receives a rejection letter from National Aeronautics and Space Administration's Astronaut Corps regarding his application. When he gets home, Norma tells her husband about the button, but they can't decide at that moment. They have a date scheduled at the theater that night. When they return, Arthur opens the empty box, hoping for answers. Before bed, they discuss how $1 million could significantly improve their lives. The next morning, we find out that on top of all their problems, Norma needs surgery for her foot, which is very expensive. They decide to press the button at that moment, but it simply rises without anything else happening. It's just a simple box. Well, or so we thought. But when we go to the emergency center, we see that they receive a report of a murder that happened inside a house, where they find the body of a woman and her daughter locked in the bathroom. Meanwhile, Norma receives a visit from Stuart again, and this time, he meets Arthur before handing them the briefcase with $1 million in cash. Without giving them much more detail, he only tells them that the button will be reprogrammed and the offer will be given to someone they don't know. The man says goodbye. Arthur attempts to return the money, but Stuart refuses as the button has already been pressed. So he memorizes the car's license plate. However, they must hastily conceal the money when Walter returns home, leaving no time for other activities. The couple must attend a wedding rehearsal. Before leaving, Arthur gives his wife the prosthesis he made. And thanks to it, Norma can walk without any side effects and without feeling pain. In the luxurious scene, the guests receive gifts for attending. And when it's Arthur's turn, we see that one of the waiters, who is The student that pressured Norma to show her foot makes a strange gesture to him. Feeling uncomfortable, he picks a box identical to the one with the button. Inside, they discover an old photo of Stuart, making the night awkward. Meanwhile, Walter is at home discussing his father's basement collections with the babysitter. When he shows them, everything is related to Mars. The party continues, and Arthur asks his father-in-law to investigate Stuart's car license plate, since he's a police officer. And on the other hand, Norma sees a waiter's nose bleed when he tells her she has a call. On the other end of the phone is Stuart, to tell her that Arthur made a mistake by talking to the police about his car, and that now they must face the consequences of their actions. And things get even stranger when Arthur discovers that the student waiter is watching him while mocking him. So he decides to confront him for mocking his wife in front of the other guests. Then they quickly leave. After arriving home, Arthur offers the nanny a ride. During the drive, she behaves oddly, discussing pressing the exact button. Suddenly, she begins feeling ill and eventually faints. Then, Arthur stops the car and finds the girl's identification where she has a different name. But out of nowhere, she wakes up to tell him that she's in danger and quickly leaves from there. And when she arrives at the motel where she's living, we see that the other guests stare at her while her nose starts to bleed. In the babysitter's room, a wall is discovered covered with information and photos of Arthur, Norma, and their son. Arthur tells Norma about his findings regarding the babysitter. Later, he recognizes Stuart in an old photo with his co-workers. The next day, the mysterious man calls Norma to threaten her and tells her that while they're talking, he's watching her because he's in her backyard. Arthur's father-in-law reveals that the mysterious car is registered under National Aeronautics and Space Administration's name, while he is in an unfamiliar office. He learns about the woman's murder reported to the emergency line and offers to accompany him to investigate. Norma goes to the supermarket where she is approached by a woman. Tell her to search for a file in the library and trust no one, including her husband. At that moment, her nose starts bleeding. Once Arthur is at the victim's house, he recognizes the woman's husband in a photo. He steals data from a library manual to gain more information. Hours later, Norma arrives at the library but hides to avoid running into her husband, who is also there. And then she finds a videotape, while Arthur gets a book with information. As he leaves, a group of men chases him until he reaches a crowded room where people stare at him intently. He reaches a door where Stuart's wife awaits him. At that moment, Norma plays the video she found, where she sees Stuart before his face was disfigured. Then, the woman shows Arthur 3 water entrances, of which only one leads to salvation. And before she can decide, we see that Norma is surprised by 2 women who guide her to meet Stuart. The man reveals that a past lightning strike left him with a wound and the ability to communicate with extraterrestrial beings. He asks her what she felt the first time she saw him, and she tells him that she felt love, because finally she found someone disfigured like her, which made her feel better about herself. At that moment, she takes Stuart's hand and immediately falls asleep. And on the other side, Arthur chooses water door number 2, and when he touches it, he is sucked in by a strange force. After an unknown period of time, Norma wakes up in her bed, and above her is a floating pool of water with Arthur inside. Suddenly, it breaks, flooding the house, making Walter suspect something bad is happening. They act as if all is well before attending the wedding. Do you want to tell me what happened? I need a drink. Then we learned that Stuart was mysteriously resurrected shortly after being struck by lightning and dying. The most surprising thing is that his cellular degeneration stopped, and he's now running tests for his mysterious employers. And so we see a group of people with nosebleeds being trained to work in this strange system. At the wedding, Arthur tells his wife that he died for an hour, and that what he experienced during that time is indescribable. In the middle of the party, he decides to leave as he starts feeling unwell. But outside, the murdered woman's husband, armed with a gun, confronts the man, warning him there's still time to save himself. Walter goes out to find his father with Norma behind him, asking the boy to return. She witnesses her son's abduction, while men prevent her from intervening as they take him to an unknown location. The man shows Arthur confidential CIA documents, where they talk about something living in the body of a 70-year-old man named Stuart. The husband admits to Arthur that his wife also pressed the button and he killed her to save their daughter. He also tells him that they know where they have his daughter, but then they see that a man dressed as Santa blocks their way so that another truck crashes into them, causing an accident. But when the police arrive, we only see the body of one man. Shortly after, Arthur is seen exiting a building in handcuffs, escorted by police. At dawn, the couple arrives home where Stuart awaits. He informs them their son is safe and they will go to him shortly. He expresses admiration for them, apologizes for their decision to press the button, and reveals that their son has lost his sight and hearing. Still, they have two choices: live the rest of their lives with $1 million and their now blind and deaf son. Or Arthur can shoot Norma in the heart, and when her spirit leaves her body, Walter will regain his senses. Also, he will receive the $1 million when he turns 18. Arthur threatens Stuart with the gun, but killing him would make his son suffer for life. Meanwhile, he will be jailed for murder and another man will simply replace him. Before leaving, he tells them that Walter is locked in the upstairs bathroom, and they try to go get him, but the boy can't see the lock that's keeping him trapped. And because he is now deaf, they can't communicate with him. So Norma regrets having pressed the button and asks Arthur to kill her to save their son. No, I don't want to do it. Hoping that there is a nice place in the afterlife where they can meet again, Norma asks for forgiveness for having started all of this. While we see that somewhere else a couple is debating whether to press the red button they received, this woman quickly presses it, and there we see that Arthur shoots his wife in the chest, so Norma falls into his arms and begins to bleed out. The emergency line then receives another report of a gunshot. Stuart hands the money to the new family, and when Arthur tries to confirm that his son has regained consciousness, the police arrive to take him into custody. Then they put him in a black car that really doesn't look like a police car, while the boy watches him through the window. This was The Box. Like, comment with movie suggestions for the channel, subscribe, and turn on notifications to catch the upcoming videos.